Unfortunately, it's currently dusk in the game, and I don't think there's anything I can do to speed up time. So we're just going to have to look at things a little bit in the dark. Luckily, I have torches on mostly everything. I've called this settlement Hartor because basically the only symbol that looks any good in the banner system is the symbol of the deer's head. So we start with a road that was a part of the map. I did not make this road. And I dug out a moat here so that I could use, as you can see, a drawbridge. And here we are at the gatehouse, the entrance to the city of Hartor. The gatehouse also has a set of doors, in addition to the drawbridge. And on the other side, some sweet statues. Going up inside, we can see that the whole interior of the gatehouse is filled in and functional. Archers would be able to shoot from these slits. Or from these crenellations, or even from the third floor on top of the gatehouse. Oh, whoops, that was weird. There we go. You may have noticed right away that there are two main towers up here in front. There's this larger one and this more plain, smaller one in the distance. These towers are named. This one over here is St. Mary's Tower, and the larger one in the distance is St. Martha's Tower. St. Martha's Tower is an interesting design because, as you can see, it's curved on this side, but on the other side, on all the other sides, it's built like a normal square tower. St. Martha's Tower is very tall, and it has a full set of hoarding around the top. And just like the gatehouse, the interior is entirely filled in. So let's head on in. St. Martha's Tower has a little bit of a barbican leading up to it, in that this walkway is the only way to get into the tower, and it's a bit exposed, allowing the archers to shoot down from either the murder holes or the arrow slits at anyone who wanted to approach the tower. There are multiple levels of defense to just about every construct that I've made for this castle. In St. Martha's Tower, you'll notice we had to go upstairs to get inside, and that's because the first floor acts as a sort of a basement down here. And this is one of the ways to get inside the walls, and that door over there leads back to the gatehouse. It's unfortunate that every single door and trapdoor in this game all make exactly the same sound. Anyway, inside St. Martha's Tower, you can see that it's a fairly simple design. I haven't put very much decoration or anything in here. I just filled in the floors. And soldiers would be able to shoot from all these arrow slits here, providing a huge amount of offense against any force that was coming in. These things here are called claim markers, or claim blocks, and that's what allows you to name a region, so that's what that's doing. Now the top floor of St. Martha's Tower is actually made to be sort of livable almost. I kind of was planning to put some bookshelves up here, maybe a table to hang out, and I sort of imagined that the ladies who lived in this medieval town might come here to spend time together and do work together, or maybe just relax. I figured that the lady of the manor and all of her ladies in waiting, and in addition to some of the other people in the court, might have this place sort of reserved for their use. Now the door to go up to the hoarding necessitates this ladder here, because as you can see, this is a two-story room. So if we go up, now we're in the hoarding, and from here soldiers would be able to do more shooting and bombarding of attackers through these murder holes here in the floor. And the hoarding wraps all the way around. Also from here we can get a great view of the keep over there. Unfortunately, it's now fully nighttime in the game, so it's going to be difficult for me to show you the outside of St. Mary's Tower, because it'll be so dark when we get there. The sky does look nice, though. Turning back on the flying mode, let's zoom on over. I also want to point out that most of the walls, the curtain walls around the town, are also hollow and have spaces inside for archers to shoot out from. Not every wall. There are some places where the walls only have a rampart on top, but most of the walls have a hollow interior that one could walk around in. Now here is St. Mary's Tower. The explanation as to why this is St. Mary's Tower and that one is St. Martha's Tower, despite this one being the smaller of the two towers, is that I figured this was probably the tower that was built first, and that's why it was called St. Mary. Of course, in medieval life, St. Mary would always have precedence over St. Martha. Let's head inside the tower. St. Mary's Tower is very straightforward. There's this ground floor that leads to this wall, and to this wall, and other than that, it's basically just a square tower with a spiral staircase going up one side. It's purely a defensive structure. I didn't plan for any other activities to be taking place in here. Very simple, just a defensive tower, and there's the claim block for this area of the map. And the trapdoor to go out on top. Very simple. Just a good defensive structure to have at the corner of the curtain wall. Now I hope you guys can see, even though it's very dark, that there's a large space inside the curtain wall. The curtain wall is it wraps around this whole area here. And I left the whole big space in the center empty so that I could maybe later put a town in there. I don't know if I'm ever actually going to do that, but that's the idea. Now the curtain wall wraps all around here. This isn't really a tower so much as it's just a mechanism to allow soldiers to get up to the wall without having to walk all the way down there and then walk all the way back. So here's the claim block for this area. This is one of the most recent things that I built. I don't even have any torches put into it yet, actually. Let's just do that now. Put a torch right here and light it. There we go. So yeah, this is just a little hut to let you get up on top of the wall here. Not really of any defensive strength. Just sort of to keep the rain out. Because I needed to have a hole in the floor to allow these stairs to come up. But I didn't want any rain to be getting into that interior hallway down there, so I put this roof up on top. And that's all that is, really. If we go down the curtain wall a little bit more, there is a very short circular tower. I really like circular towers. And they're a great way to add a defensive structure to the corner of a wall. And also it just acts like a staircase. It's like a free staircase to these interior wall hallways up to the wall tops. And then if you go up to the top of this, there's nothing up here but just a room with 4 arrow slits to shoot out from. And that covers all of our defensive structures in the wall, so now we're going to head to the upper bailey, I guess is what it should be called. It's sort of a yard that's attached to the side of the keep. There is a great big gatehouse here, just like there is at the entrance to the town over there, and a pretty nice barbican leading up to it, which would expose anybody who wanted to enter the inner bailey. Would have to go up this barbican and expose themselves to arrows and bombardment from defensive soldiers here. So raise the portcullis, and we're inside the upper bailey. Now this also isn't finished. I'm intending for this to be, like I said, a yard. I'm going to put like a blacksmith in here and maybe a stable, and some perhaps housing for servants and stuff like that. But the yard itself has these crenellations going around the outside, mostly just for decoration, mostly just to keep it matching everything else. But there is actually a very simple rampart that goes around this, so a defensive soldier could shoot down at an attacking force that had managed to make it this far into the town so far. So this will be filled in with buildings later, and that over there is, of course, the keep. But first, let's look at this gatehouse. Just like the other gatehouse, this one is entirely filled in. A staircase going up to this intermediate level, where an archer could shoot down at somebody who was in that archway down there, or who was trying to get their way up the barbican. And then there's this second level, which is pretty cool, I think. From here, archers and soldiers would be able to shoot at and rain down missiles upon anybody who was coming through this archway here, as well. And let's suppose that this thing was closed, so they probably wouldn't have made it to this part yet. So you could shoot at them through here, or you could shoot at them through here. And also the arrow slits leading outside. And of course, just like with the other gatehouse, there's a way up to the top. And now we're on top, and you can use these matriculations to shoot at assaulters from all sides of the gatehouse, including this side. I'm not sure if that's really realistic that they'd be coming at you from this direction, but it would have looked weird if I had changed the battlement for just that one side. So that's our gatehouse. Forgot to turn those menus off. And we're back in the yard. I also want to point out that this wall up here, this wall top, is unreachable from down here. And the reason for that is that that wall has a doorway that leads directly into the keep. And the whole idea of the keep is that the only way to get into the keep is one way. There's only one door in and out. So any doors from the keep to a wall top are therefore contained, and you can't get onto that wall top from anywhere else except for in the keep. So let's head up to the keep now. Down here we have a sort of an empty yard. I'm not sure what I would use it for. Maybe archery practice. Maybe it could be a vegetable garden. I put a little door going down there just in case. But there's our keep. Now this staircase that I'm on is another example of a barbican. It is a raised stone path, and this is the only way to get into the keep. And walking on this path exposes you to tons of arrow slits. That whole defensive tower right there can shoot at anybody who's coming up this barbican, as well as arrow slits from the keep itself, and this overhang right here has lots of ways to shoot down at somebody who's approaching this door. And this door is the only way in, so let's head in. Okay, so now we're inside the keep. This is the Great Hall, as I'm sure you've guessed. This was one of the most fun areas in the castle to build. The keep is unique in comparison to any of the other buildings I've made in this game in the past, because I built the entire keep out of stone arches. This level and the basement level beneath and the level on top of this are all made of stone arches, which are incredibly strong and support the weight of such a massive, tall keep. This great hall has a big long table and a beautiful hearth. And in going with the theme of the town, which is themed around a deer, of course we have some stuffed deer heads above the hearth and the mantle. And this great hall has a number of doors leading out, so let's explore some of those. This door here leads to the kitchen. Now, I haven't filled in the kitchen with furniture yet, unfortunately. There's going to be a stove in here and lots of tables and shelves and everything, but this is where the cooks and the servants would prepare food for the guests and for the Lord and his family. Over here is the larder, which I have, ironically, filled in with furniture. I'm going to eventually get around to finishing the kitchen. And then over here, in the other direction, is the door that leads to that defensive tower that we saw from outside, but we'll explore that later. Next, let's go over here and see what this door leads to. This door leads outside. Now this is another example of one of those wall tops that I told you you can only access it from the keep. So this is a sort of a large wall top area that I thought could double as a defensive structure, and also a sort of a recreational area where the Lord and his family could come and spend time outdoors, reading, sitting, painting, playing, doing whatever they wanted to do. It's sort of a patio or a porch almost. And then this door here, as you may have guessed, leads to the main interior staircase. Now this is a spiral staircase that leads all the way up, but it also leads down. So let's go down first. Because one of the things I'm the most proud of with this castle is that I actually carved out a basement using the Vox tools to remove bits of the earth. So let's head down here. And so we are actually underground now. I did not build this on top of the ground. I carved this out of the ground. We're in a hole in the ground now. And as you can see, this whole basement is also made of those same arching structures. I've filled it in with a bunch of boxes and crates and barrels and things. And also down here is the claim block for this region of the map, for the keep. This basement took a long time to build and get right, and it was the first thing that I built. And I built up the keep from the foundation that is set forth down here. Oh, and this torch is turned off, but you could turn it on. I have it turned off because, you know, you don't need it unless somebody's coming down here. Alright, so let's head back upstairs. and let's move up to the second floor. One of the reasons that I had to be so careful with the construction of this castle is that you might have noticed that each story of the castle is 2 wall blocks high, which is, I don't think that's what the game intended for you to do, but I feel like it looks more luxurious. So as you can see here, I had to support the vaulted ceiling with more stone arches, and then also fill them in with wooden inner walls. This second floor is where the lord of the castle would have his chambers, he and his wife. And that's what this room is here. And this room's also not yet finished. I've put the beds in, of course, but not everything's done. There's the hearth. That hearth, I want to point out, is connected to the same chimney from downstairs. It's all one chimney that moves all the way up through the center of the building. And this hearth is on this little sort of stone precipice that's hanging out into the chimney. Also here is the, I'm not sure what you call this room, bathroom? Not really quite the right word. I guess that would be a bathroom. And here we have the wardrobe and a bunch of shelves and drawers and chests and stuff for the lord and his lady's belongings. And then out here, past the chamber pot, is the privy. And there's a hole in the floor to let the waste drop to the ground beneath. Also from this floor, you can gain access to that second floor overhang that I mentioned that you can shoot down. This hangs over the main door, and you can shoot down at somebody who's approaching the door. And over there is the gate house to the city over there. So more needs to be added to this floor, but it's looking pretty good so far. If we continue up the main staircase, we'll eventually get to the third floor, which I figured that this floor is going to be used as a sort of a barracks for any of the troops that are stationed currently in the castle. So eventually I'm going to put a bunch of beds up in here. Of course, they're not here yet. This is the sort of the third and a half floor, and this would be more dormitories for servants or soldiers and what have you. Because this floor is set in a bit from the edge of the wall, they can have full-size windows here instead of just arrow slits. This is most absolutely a keep made for war. This ladder here leads up to, now we're on top. We're on top of the keep. If we close this door, this walkway that we're on wraps all the way around the central roof structure and gives a full line of sight for archers to shoot down at any attacker who comes from any direction. And if you guys remember that chimney that I mentioned a few moments ago, here it is. This is the opening to the chimney. If I can just jump on top of it, you'll see, there it is. It goes all the way down. All of the fireplaces in the building are connected by this chimney. Now, let's go have a look at this defensive tower. So first we'll head down so that we can see it from its base. Sorry about the low frame rate. This game's not very well optimized. Okay, so here we are in the defensive tower. This one was a pain to build because it's so tall and so straight that I had to make all kinds of extra supporting structures inside, like these stone pillars here. notice that the stone pillars will sort of follow us up several floors. This is that wall top that I showed you from the yard below. So this is just an extra wide wall top that allows archers to shoot at would-be attackers. That's outside the city over there. So we're on the edge of the curtain wall, and so there are matriculations on this side, and not on this side because the likelihood of attackers coming from this direction is a little bit less. But if there were an invading force that managed to make it through the first gatehouse, and through the whole town, and through the second gatehouse, and found themselves in the yard, the archers who were still inside the keep would be able to shoot down at them from here, and maybe stop them there. Let me back up. This tower here is just sort of, how the wall comes to an end on this side. This goes down, and that's the inside of the wall. And it goes upstairs a few times. Arrow slits everywhere, of course. Arrow slits everywhere, and then this top floor has a hoarding wrapped around it, which is just like the other hoardings. It allows the archers to shoot down or out. Oops. Alright, so let's head back down and see the rest of the tower. So once I had gotten this far, I could no longer start using these stone spiral staircases because the stone was too heavy for the structure to support. This door heads to the second floor. That's where the Lord lives over there. So I had to start using wooden staircases after that. So I sort of alternate where the wooden staircases are. They're in the middle, then on the left, then on the right. And this is a door that leads to that third floor where the soldiers would live. And there is a door on this level. Or, no, sorry, it's the next one. And I actually kind of like this door because it leads out onto the top of one of these little turrets up here. And I kind of feel like I want to put something on here, like a bench. Like this would be a sort of a nice private place where, there's only one way to get here, and it's kind of contrived. You have to sort of go around in weird ways, and it's a great view from here. If you wanted to have some alone time, if you were the Lord or the Lord's wife and you wanted some time to yourself, you could come here and sit down, read a book, all kinds of stuff. Continuing up, it's just more of the same, just rooms with arrow slits aiming every direction. That's that tower we were just in. And of course last, we get to the top, where we have, this is the highest part of the castle. From up here, we can see it all. Eventually, I'd like to maybe add some farm fields around this. I'm not sure if you can even do that in this game, but they'd probably be over there. Something like that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. But that's pretty much everything, I think. So that's the castle that I've been working on. It took me about a month to do all this work, but I haven't been working on it very much. So it's not like a month straight of gameplay. It's more like a month where I played the game maybe 5 or 6 times. Alright. Hope you guys enjoyed my tour, and maybe I'll keep you updated when I have added more to the castle later on. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.